I wasn't born with greatness. I built it, every piece of it, every scar, every moment when the world was asleep and I was awake, pushing myself past what most people call enough. I remember the sound of that alarm clock, 4 a.m. It wasn't just a noise. It was a call to war. Every morning was a battlefield between who I was and who I wanted to become. While the world hit snooze, I laced up my shoes. While they were dreaming, I was working on mine. I didn't train to be good. I trained to be unstoppable. I trained until the moves became muscle memory. I trained until pain became fuel. I obsessed over the details, the angles, the footwork, the balance. I studied tapes for hours. I'd pause, rewind, pause again. I'd watch the legends. Not just how they scored, but how they thought, because I wasn't just building my body, I was building my mind. That's where the Mamba was born, in the dark, in silence. When no one was watching, people used to call me crazy. They didn't understand why I'd play through injuries, why I'd push through fatigue, why I'd rather be in the gym than at a party. But you can't explain obsession to someone who's never burned for something. This wasn't about applause. This was about purpose. I didn't want to be liked. I wanted to conquer. I remember walking into empty gyms long before the lights were on. The echo of the ball bouncing off the hardwood was like a heartbeat. Each bounce said, "You're not there yet." The Mamba mentality isn't about perfection. It's about relentless evolution. Every day, I ask myself, did I get better today? If the answer was no, I failed, and I never accepted failure. I trained when I was tired. I trained when I was hurt. I trained when the world said, rest, because the game doesn't care about your excuses. And legends are not born out of comfort. There were nights when my body begged me to stop, but my soul whispered, one more rep, one more shot, one more mile. Pain never scared me. Fear never owned me. I looked at pain in the eyes and said, you're just the toll I have to pay to reach greatness. Losing didn't break me either. It sharpened me. Every missed shot was a lesson. Every loss was a map. Every defeat was a blueprint for domination. I didn't just practice the moves I liked. I practiced the moves I hated, because growth doesn't live in comfort. It lives in the fire. When I stepped on that court, I wasn't playing a game. I was going to war. The opponent wasn't the other team. The opponent was the standard I set for myself. Championships weren't the destination. They were the byproduct of the standard. I wanted to master the craft. I wanted to understand every rhythm of the game, the tempo, the flow, the energy. I wanted to own the floor like a warrior owns the battlefield. I've been called obsessed. I've been called arrogant. I've been called relentless. They're all right. Because greatness isn't polite. It doesn't knock. It kicks the door down. I didn't want to be second. I wanted to be the one they remembered when the lights went out. I studied the greats like Michael Jordan, not to copy him, but to evolve beyond him. I wanted to be a student forever. Every move he made, I studied it, dissected it, added to it. And then I built my own kingdom. I loved the isolation, the quiet hours no one sees. That's where warriors are made, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Pressure. I never ran from pressure. I embraced it. Because pressure reveals truth. It strips away excuses. In those final seconds of a game, when the crowd holds its breath, I felt alive. That's where Mamba thrived. I always said, I don't negotiate with failure. Either I win or I learn, but I never stopped moving. I never believed in plan B. When you have a plan B, it means you don't believe in plan A. I bet everything on my dream. My sweat, my blood, my time, everything. I wanted to be legendary. Not for the fame, for the standard. When people talk about Mamba mentality, they think it's just about basketball. No, it's about everything. It's how you attack life, how you approach every challenge, how you push when everything in you wants to quit. Mamba mentality is waking up earlier, working harder, refusing to be average, refusing to be comfortable. I wasn't competing against others. I was competing against my own potential. Every day was a war between Kobe and Mamba, and I made sure Mamba always won. There were moments of loneliness, moments when the sacrifice was heavy, but I embraced it because greatness requires solitude. Not everyone is meant to walk with you to the top of the mountain. Discipline was my language. Obsession was my heartbeat. Excellence was my oxygen. And when I walked into the arena, I didn't just bring my talent. I brought every early morning, every late night, every drop of sweat, every ounce of pain. That's what made me dangerous. I wanted my opponents to feel it, not just see it. The look in my eyes wasn't arrogance. It was clarity. It said, I've already outworked you, you just don't know it yet. I remember my torn Achilles. Most people would have walked away. I stood up. I walked to that free throw line. I made those shots because the Mamba doesn't surrender. You can take my body. You can't take my spirit. That's what I want people to understand. This isn't about talent. It's about mindset, about showing up when no one's watching, about chasing the standard, not the applause. I didn't just want to play the game. I wanted to redefine it. Every day I walked into the gym, I saw the same thing. The ball, the rim, the floor. But in my mind, it wasn't a court. It was a battlefield. And on that battlefield, I never came to participate. I came to dominate. I never chased shortcuts. I chased mastery. And mastery is paid for in time and pain. The Mamba mentality is simple. Be better than you were yesterday. Relentlessly, ruthlessly, without compromise. When people doubted me, I smiled. Because doubt is fuel, and I turned fuel into fire. I told myself pressure doesn't crush me. Pressure creates diamonds. And I was born to shine in the moments everyone else feared. Every single day, I visualized the game. Not just how I would score, how I would break them mentally. I didn't just want to beat them. I wanted to take their heart. I lived for those moments. The buzzer beaters, the impossible shots, the silence before the storm. Because in that silence, I was home. And when I finally stood at the top 5 championships, MVPs, Olympic golds, I didn't look back at the trophies. I looked back at the journey, the mornings I didn't quit, the pain I didn't escape, the lonely hours no one saw. That's the real prize. I always knew the game would end one day. The applause would fade. The lights would go out, but the mindset, the mentality that never dies. That's the legacy. I am Kobe Bryant. I am Mamba. I am the man who never negotiated with weakness, the man who turned pain into power, the man who chose obsession over comfort, the man who lived by one code: outwork, outthink, outlast. And when they speak my name, I don't want them to just remember the numbers. I want them to remember the fire, the mindset, the relentless pursuit of greatness. Because legends fade, but mentality lives forever. This is my story. This is my war. I am the Mamba. And I didn't come here to play. I came here to conquer.